Okay. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Excuse me. What I think we're going to do in this video is we're going to paint the character. I'm not sure how far I'll go into it. I might just do the skin so that I've got a shorter video and then paint up the clothing and then maybe do the swords as well as a separate video. I'm not really sure. We'll see how it goes. But what I am going to do first is probably paint the skin. Mostly because it's the part I enjoy painting the most. So yeah, I think we'll go ahead and start doing that. I'll probably also chop out, because we've got several layers under here. They go all the way down the stocking, so I might cut a leg off on the inside around there, on the inside of the stocking, just to save. Well, we'll see. Well, I mean, I don't know if I really need to, because we're not adding anything more to this at the moment. I do have to build a base for it, but I don't think we're going to go into the, like, you know, millions and millions of points for that. So let's go ahead and get painting the skin first. So to be fair, I'm kind of happy with the color of the skin as a base. So I think what we'll do is we'll start painting it up as is, because, like I said, I'm pretty happy with the skin as a tone. So let's go ahead and do the face first. So we're going to essentially need a base layer, which is going to be the skin, a top layer, which is going to be the same skin, maybe a little bit more with a little bit more opacity on it, and maybe with a slight sheen on it to give us the highlights that we're looking for, the specular highlights we'd be looking for on the skin. Then what we're going to do is add 3 more layers, and they're going to be the blues, the reds, and the yellows in the face. So what this will end up being in the body is we'll break up the body with some of these colors anyway, and then we might add another layer on the body to kind of add veins, like a detail underneath that might be veins or something like that. We'll see if we need that extra layer, but I think for now we just need these as layers. With the face is going to be very much just like blocked out. So I do this change that. So I do this in the same way that painters do it, you know, like the classical painters do it. They'll block out the face in sections and then blend it and then add a few layers over the top to kind of so that we can see the colors underneath the skin, which is what gives you that natural feeling skin tone. If you look at your own skin on your hand, you can see different reds, you can see the blues and the greeny purples and stuff where the veins are. You can see slightly yellower here where there's like fattier pads and things like that. So it's just knowing about where and how to break up these skin layers, these layers underneath the skin. So we'll call that one top skin. Let's just label these as we go. So I think I want the base layer selected, and I want to select this skin so that we've got it, and then I'm going to fill that on this layer. So with that layer selected, I'm going to add it all and just fill the whole thing. What I'll probably do later is come back and once we've got a better idea of the skin that's going to be underneath, we'll play around with the opacity of the top layer and the sheen and like I said, to get those specular highlights. So this one we'll go ahead. Let's start with the reds because it's going to be the most visible change. I need to figure out a way to set this up better so that I can see my whole keyboard. I'd like my keyboard here, but it gets in the way of me, and then I have to lean forward with my arm out like that, and that's uncomfortable. So I'll have to figure something out, but for now, it kind of has to just go here. Right, so reds. Let's choose a nice Let's choose a nice red for that. So again, with this, we can, you know, sort of play around with the opacity underneath the skin. You know, we'll blend it as well. So we'll talk about that as we go. What I do want to do is for this brush, I want to change the alpha to something that's a bit more scratchy so that we don't have, I don't want it to be a block of color. I want it to be a bit patchy so that it breaks up the skin underneath it. So, oh, that's a my mistake. Yeah, there we go. So as you can see, like if we turn the top layer off, oh, it's, you know what? If we actually, with the paintbrush selected, then actually go ahead and change the alpha to something scratchy like we wanted, now we should see that we'll be able to, it gives us that softer edge underneath where the reds are. Let's turn off the post-processing so we can see it. Now if I turn off the top layer, you can see it's broken it up so that we've got this nice sort of like patchy in a way. Yeah, so it's wait, where are we going? There we go. Yeah, so we've got it broken up so that it's like it's a nice patchy texture underneath, because you know it's just skin doesn't really behave in sort of a solid in any type of solid manner, I suppose. I'm not really sure what the words I'm looking for are here, but underneath your skin it's never like a solid red or anything like that. It's just not how the skin works. So we're going to break it up a little with some patchiness. I mean, we are going to blend all of this together. A nice kind of solid color on the nose there, and we'll break it up a bit as we go further up the nose. We are going to, I'm going to come up under the eyes with some of this red as well. What we are going to do is on the purple layer, we're going to add some under the eyes as well, but I kind of want some of this red around the eyes because there's still a lot of blood vessels around here that are probably quite close to the surface. So I will be I do kind of want to fill this out a little with some red. I'm wondering if there's actually a way to, in the settings maybe. I don't like when I turn it that we're not having a nice clear image of it, so I want to try and figure that out. I'm pretty sure there's a way to do it. I think it's to do with the multi-resolution. So I think the higher we take this, let's go to, I mean, what are we on? We're on 100 million. Low resolution threshold, I want to crank that up to like, I don't know, 16. So yeah, that hasn't really done anything. Maybe that's only when we've got the, so let's crank that up again to like 100 million nearly, or 70 or 80 million. And let's just crank this up to like 10 million. No, I don't get it. I'll have to try and figure that out. But yeah, let's turn this back off. Yeah, I kind of want it to, like, when I turn this and I'm using the this, I want this to be higher. See, it won't let me go any higher. That's so weird. Never mind. So yeah, as you can see here, I feel like the top skin's probably a bit. I mean, we'll see how it goes. So anyway, as I was saying, what you want to do with these is kind of add the red anywhere that you know there's going to be sort of blood vessels close to the surface. So you get rosy cheeks because your blood vessels are quite close to the surface. Should be a little easier to see. You get rosy cheeks because, yeah, your blood vessels are quite close to the surface and that. So you notice it around the top of the ears and around the back of the ears there. I'll come down the ear a little. Same here. You'll notice it around the tops of the ears and around the back. And I'm going to come down the ear a little on the inside as well. So let's set it back to lit so we can get an idea. See, this side's not really covered underneath. So this looks really rough, but like I said, we're mixing layers together. So I think, yeah, let's leave it as that for now. We'll turn the opacity down nice load so we can see it. And then what I want to do is so in order to smooth this out, you need to actually have the smooth brush on, but you want to turn the intensity all the way down so that you're not actually affecting the mesh. And this will allow you to kind of blend the skin, blend the, if I was on the right layer, it would allow you to blend these together a little without actually affecting the mesh underneath. So you can see that we've blurred that a lot, which is kind of what we're going for. So it acts like a kind of smearing in a way. Oh. And what's going to happen with this is the reds are going to act as like the light bouncing around underneath the skin is going to act like that. So if you notice that when you have light behind your ears, for example, your ears will light up red. That's because the light that's being bounced around under the skin is picking up the capillaries and the blood vessels and stuff like that, and it's actually bouncing around the red light that's underneath your skin. So what we can do, once we've smoothed this out as much as we are comfortable doing, I think what we can do is we can start chopping into the underside a little and blending it a little bit more manually. So we want a more gradual transition. Oh, and then with the smooth function held down, we can smooth that edge out a little more. See what that looks like without that top layer on. So the idea is to blend it nicely, but also not have it be like a solid color underneath, you know, like, because again you're working with layers of essentially fat, muscle, you know, veins, and all sorts of other stuff. So you ideally don't want a solid like a solid color underneath, because it will just start to it will start to look like sharp edges underneath the skin. So let's just start working with that off. So you can see, look, we've missed a bunch of areas where we've tried to add. So I think what we'll do, we'll kind of thicken it up in the middle across the cheeks. We'll give this another blend. And then I think that might be enough. I mean, it really will probably... Some of this is going to be a bit of a back and forth. So once we've got the rest of the colours in, we've sorted out the top layer a little bit. We're probably going to come back in and adjust some of these layers. You know, put maybe more red in. You know, maybe more red, maybe more blues, maybe up the yellow a little bit. It's going to be a balancing act once we've got all of the layers in. So... let's go ahead and add. Let's go ahead and add the blue layer. I call it blue. It's kind of depends what you're going for. Blue. I just call it the blue layer because I usually use blue to a greeny blue. So we'll just call it blue. But like I said, it really depends, you know, like I might add a layer on top of that says veins or arteries or something, and then start painting in some actual arteries. So let's choose a nice let's choose a nice deep purpley blue. Something like that. Let's make sure we're on the blue layer. And we're going to add around here. We're going to add it around here on the blue layer. On the right one, yes. So we're going to add a blue layer around here. This is going to make her look like she's got a beard, but this is supposed to be very subtle on a woman, on a girl. Like, it really depends on the character, I guess. But usually you want this to be like nice and subtle. And go over the reds a tiny bit as well to help blend it in a little. So another thing we're going to do here, and again this is a layer on top of the reds. I'm going to actually add a little bit of this darkness, this blue here on the inside and around the eyes. Because you know, if you look at yourself in the mirror, with, you know, without makeup, if you're wearing makeup, you'll notice that you have like a blue here, which very very visible if you're tired, but it's kind of always there. And you know, particularly with a girl character, this helps kind of bring her eyes out a little. It helps kind of pop her eyes up off the off of the base layer of the skin and stuff like that. So I think what I'll do as well is I might add a little around here in some of these deeper bits. I will probably come in here and start sort of bringing some of this darkness in under the chin and under the jaw area. Again, this is all subject to change. None of this is like final how it's meant to look or anything like that. And then you want to do the same here. You want to come back in and sort of try and smooth this out as best you can, and use this to kind of blend the layers a little. And again, we're doing the same thing. We kind of want it to be a broken pattern. You know, we're not really looking for symmetry. Well, I mean, to some degree, you want some symmetry, but like, what I'm saying is you don't want a solid, thick color of anything underneath, because it just, your skin doesn't work like that, right? So yeah, anything that you can do like this to give you a more broken kind of layer underneath is going to help. It's just it kind of indicative of how skin reacts and what sort of goes on with the layers you've got going on underneath. Yeah. So you can see how it's where we're blending it here. We're getting this nice deep pink where the purples are crossing over. I kind of like that. So what the idea being here is that we can now play around with this as like a type of adjustment layer. And we really do want this to be subtle. So not invisible, but just very subtle. And I think another thing that we've got going on here is that I want to take some of this blue out of here because her cheeks are just looking like a line. So I'm going to come back to the blue layer. And we're going to sort of chop out of there a little. And then we might go back into the red layer and add a bit more of that red back in. Yeah, and maybe, like I said, come back down here with some of this red. Try and bring it down her face, because like, you know, it just, if something is starting to just look like a line across the face, it's definitely going to look weird. So let's give that a good old blur. Yeah, I already like that a bit more. It's following more of the shape that we would be seeing down her cheek here and sort of up and around. And we're going to do a similar sort of thing here. We'll bring this up and around the cheek. Yeah, okay, so let's just get this moving and keep it going, because I want to get at least the base done in the next few minutes. So let's go ahead and turn this layer on. We'll call this yellows, or we'll just call it yellow. This is going to represent the fatty areas and anywhere where there's like bone that's close to the surface, like on your forehead. So yeah, fatty areas and anywhere where there's bone that's close to the surface. So let's go with a nice sort of muddy yellow. Because, I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen fat under the, what fat looks like. It's kind of gross. It's probably paler than this. But this is more for a, well, we're going to adjust the layers on this anyway, right? So this is more, it might not look quite like you'd imagine in terms of what the coloring of this is. But it is definitely just more for so that we can blend it, and we've got options for the blend. So, and again, the yellow doesn't really have, I don't really want to worry about it too much, because it really is just kind of there to fill areas that are largely fat and bone. So let's adjust the opacity of that, because again, these need to be subtle. The light, when you reflect the light on these, it's going to give you a much better idea of yeah, see, we can see now that we've hidden some of her face away. I feel like the blues are definitely too visible, so they need to be a bit more subtle. Almost non-visible. We might get away with cranking the skin. Again, this is a back and forth, guys. We're also going to go over and do a makeup layer on this, you know, so let's grab that. Let's turn all these back on. And what another thing I want to do here is put on the lit PBR, and I want to adjust. Where is it here? I want to adjust the roughness. I also want to, on the subsurface, because this is a, if we switch it to opaque, there we go. So it's a subsurface. This is designed to let us bounce the light around underneath. This might cut off and I'll have to reset the camera, but I want to just quickly adjust the depth of this a little, because we're not seeing enough definition in her face. And I don't think that, I mean, she's not a porcelain doll, right? If she was a porcelain doll, it might be somewhere around, I don't know, there. Oh, that's just switched off. It might be somewhere around there where the light bounces around under the skin a lot. So we'll turn this down to somewhere where we can still see some of the detailing in her face. And that looks a lot nicer. So I think we'll also come in, we'll crank that up. Let's turn on the post-processing. I don't think we're getting enough shine. I want her skin to feel more sort of soft, and glisten a little. I want it to feel like she's youthful and got some shine on her skin. So let's go ahead, turn the roughness down a little more. So I don't want her to look like she's sweating, but I want some of those specular highlights to be visible through the opacity. That looks much more appealing. So we've got some of that sort of, maybe a bit too much here. We've got some of those sort of specular highlights going on, as well as the depth that we're seeing in the skin layer that we've been working on so far. So I'm relatively okay with that. She needs a makeup layer, but I want to do the rest of the skin as well. So where we need to work on next is going to be the sort of boob area around the bum cheeks, the butt cheeks, and around the thighs. Something to think about here is there's going to be veins, main arteries that are running through the skin here. You'll see some down here. You'll probably see some through here going into the thigh. I might off camera have a quick look at a sort of anatomy of the veins and stuff like that, just to see if there's anything that's jumping out at me that I can sort of like latch onto and use as a reference, as a guide, to say there's definitely going to be some veins there. But I'll reset the camera, save this, and we shall be right back. Okay, so I think what we're going to go ahead and do next is we're going to start working on these several separate layers for the rest of the body. So I did have a little look online at where some of the main let's say visible veins would be, and the veins in the chest, they kind of you know, it's anybody's guess, I suppose. They kind of come from around here and spread out, and you do get larger veins. The bigger a woman's boobs are, they're probably going to have a lot more visible veins in there. So we'll judge that as we get to it. We'll decide what we're going to do as we get to it. With the legs, we've got like the main artery that's going to run down through here and on the inside of the thigh, but it does cut across here. I think this is called the femoral artery from what I just saw, but it's named differently as it gets further down the leg. We don't really need to worry about any of that because the majority of this is going to be covered anyway. We might add some of that into the stockings just to get that fleshy feel, like that these are actually see-through material. So we might need to add some of that subtly to this piece of mesh here. But again, there's going to be a main vein that kind of runs through here, or at least a visible vein that kind of comes through here. There'll be a main one that runs through here as well. And I think the rest of it we'll kind of just do with like a big red patch on the butt. I think there's going to be a lot of the same with the back. I don't think we're going to go too crazy on adding veins into the back again. But we will add some of that in there. So the main parts that we want to get through painting at the moment are the main bulk of the layers, right? So let's go ahead and start doing that. So we'll need the base, we'll need the top layer, we'll need red, blue, and yellow. And we'll just quickly rename these. We'll go red for this. So we'll name these as we go. So let's get started on the red. Now what I do want to do is copy what we've kind of got going on the face. So what I might do here is crank that up. Copy that so we've got the exact skin layer. And then drop this back down to somewhere like that. So we'll take note of that. We got 81% opacity. So let's go ahead and do that up here. We're going to paint the whole layer. So if you see that we did just get a nice, see we've got that sheen on there now. And we're going to drop the opacity down to 81. So I want to try and just stay somewhat close to what we've got going on the face. So similarly to what we've got going on with the reds here, let's turn all these off. And we're at 100% opacity on that, so all we need is the color. So let's go ahead and copy that. Bam. And let's start adding the red into this, into these boob areas. Let's turn off the swords as well so we can see what we're doing. Right, I suppose let's get into it. Let's crank this brush up a little. So again, the same as what we sort of had going on before. We don't want to create like a hard edge underneath. So I think what we can do here is turn that off. So we want to try and create not a hard edge is what I'm saying. Let's add some red in here. And again, because we can see into the top a little in some areas. All right, let's smooth all this away and just see what we end up with. So this, I do feel like this is a bit of a hard transition. It's not so bad underneath with the skin on top. I think let's bring the red up a little, and then we'll turn off that top layer and chop back in to try and I'm trying to blend it a little. So I think that might not be too bad. That's not too bad. It's a bit subtle. I had a bit more pinkness in them. But that's not bad. So we're going to do something similar around here on the butt cheeks. We're going to go back down to the red layer. And we're just going to give her big old red booty cheeks. So we're kind of doing it to add warmth to areas where there should be warmth, I guess. So up here we'll add a bit of yellow there because there's bone pretty close to the surface. And everywhere else, I want a nice sort of solid red around the butt cheeks. And then we'll start to taper it off a little. Let's add some red around there. So we, again, like, not to, I mean, it's just a thing, I guess, but not to sound creepy, but there's a lot of warmth here. So we'll add some of that in there. I think we'll go under here with some of this red as well. And let's add some red and just sort of like start at pushing it in there a little. So again, because we're working in layers, we can, you know, come back in, add stuff over the top of this, remove stuff if we see fit. And again, not trying to have a solid color anywhere underneath if we can help it, apart from around the back here where we kind of want that nice pink sort of tone under the skin there. So let's blur all this in a little and see how we're looking. And remember, like, once you've sort of blended this in, you can just come back in, add some more, chop out of it, chop into it. Like here, I think we need a bit more red up there and a bit more red coming through from here, and then we can smooth that back away. So let's come back in and just break this up a tiny bit more because he's looking a little pink in places. And again, we can just adjust the opacity and even add another layer to bring some of that pink back in if we want to. Oh, no, we lost a bit too much there. So she might be looking a little too pink around the butt cheeks area. So we might have to Just turn this top layer up a tiny bit more to just take some of that out. Yeah, that looks a lot better. And again, like we'll be adding other layers on top of this, so the pink will be broken up a little bit with some blues and just, you know, some of the details that we're going to add in with the veins and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and add some pink to the shoulder areas. So with the back, I guess I'm going to be looking at, because we're going to add some darker purple. We'll add some of that purple here for the deeper areas. So I guess what we'll do with the back is just try and add some red to the muscle that we can visibly see. So let's just do that. So around here where the muscle would be, there's going to be a load of muscle coming in through here. We'll have some of this from the top of the shoulder. This is going to be a bit more crunched up over here. We'll have muscle that comes off the shoulder in there. And let's sort of just make this a little more solid. So I think we can sort of come and start smoothing. Do you know what I've done? It's all on the blooming top layer, the skin layer. I was like, why does it look so pink? Why is it looking so weird? So let's get back onto the correct layer. And start adding this pink back in. So there we go. So now it feels a bit more subtle as we add it. So we'll definitely have some coming off the shoulder. Oh, God. Gosh darn it. We'll definitely have some coming off the shoulder there. We'll have some around the edges just to create some of that nice depth. We'll definitely have some around there. So this will be going up and around the shoulder and off the shoulder here. We'll have this muscle sort of coming through under here as well. Around there, look where the lateral muscle is. I think, yeah, let's smooth some of this out. So a lot of this is, most of this is to break up the skin, the surface of the skin, or the underneath, the layers underneath, I should say, because you know, skin, that you want skin to feel alive, you need to understand that there are multiple layers. Like you got your dermis, epidermis, whatever, you got your fat layers and everything like that, and it all kind of blends together in a way to give you the tone that you recognize as skin. So even just adding the reds on the body has helped a lot, and it's recognizably looking more like skin than it did before. So let's quickly grab the face again, because we want that blue that we had. So we were on less than 10. So we just want to grab this to get the color. So another thing you can do, which I haven't done, I might do it in a little bit, I'll decide. But I sometimes put like a palette, like a paint palette there, so I know I can just grab the color from the paint palette rather than have to go in and do all of this sort of stuff again. But for now, let's just keep going. So let's make sure we're on the blue layer. Let's name it blue so that we don't get lost. And let's start adding some of the depth in here. So rather than adding the blue around like we did with the chin, which is a lot more of a masculine thing, it's a lot more subtle with a woman. I think what we're going to do is just start adding color, adding purple to places where we kind of want shadow at the moment. So we're going to kind of, in a way, force perspective on this. And we're going to add, again, we're going to just be a bit patchy with it, because the main reason for this right now is to just break up the red a little. So if we turn off the top layer, it looks patchy. But if we crank that back on, you can see that it's broken up the skin underneath, and it actually looks quite acceptable. I don't know if we'll have to turn this down as much as we did the other one, but I still do want it to be kind of more visible on here because, you know, again, it's not because there's veins underneath the jawline. It's just kind of, I'm not really sure why it has to be that color on a woman, but it does. So here we go. We're just going to start adding it in where first of all there would be a little bit of depth, I guess. So we'll add in a nice triangle shape there. Maybe a little bit of it around the pinch in the thigh. We've definitely got the we'll add some in here as well for a bit of depth. We've definitely got the main vein that sort of like runs through the inside of the leg here, which would kind of come up this way, I guess. We'd have the same here. It would kind of move through the body here. We'll add some around here for some depth and some just to break up the skin a little more. It would be kind of dark around this sort of side. And let's just see how that looks. See, that's already looking a bit better. Just breaking up the skin underneath and breaking up the colors a little definitely helps a lot. So let's add a little bit of and let's just break up the skin a little one there with this, because like the idea is to subtly give you the idea or the inclination or the suggest that there's veins running under here. Oh. So we'll do the same again. I think we want to add one that kind of comes around here and moves through the body there. Maybe add a little bit of depth in there. And again, mostly just patch it around to break up the skin layer. We will add a more detailed version of the veins that we want to try and add in and get, you know, make them a little bit more visibly clear. But for now, just to make the skin feel a little more alive, this has already made a massive difference. So again, mostly we're doing with these layers right now is to just break up the skin, break up the color underneath the skin. And that's really, you can already tell that it's made a difference. I think we may need to toy with the opacity a tiny little bit, but the thing that I'm finding a little frustrating is because I kind of want the blues in the boob area to be as visible as they are here, and it's the same exact layer, but it's just a lot more subtle around the boob area, and I'm not sure I like that. So we might need to keep this subtle and then, like I said, excuse me, be really clear and concise with where we put our actual sort of like vein drawings, our drawings of our veins, or our paint layer of our veins. So let's give that one more sort of blend with the smooth brush. And again, do not forget to make sure that you've got zero intensity on the brush. Otherwise, you're going to start smoothing out the mesh, and that's not what you want to do here. So let's add a bit more up there to give it a bit of depth. We've already kind of done it here. And you can kind of see the difference there anyway. Like if we remove the reds and the blues, you can definitely see. So it's just, we're basically essentially, we're basically breaking up the skin surface, or the sub layers of the skin, I should say. So let's add some of that into the back, and then we'll quickly go through and add the yellows. So what I could probably do with the back here is just anywhere where it's a bit more shallow, or anywhere where I kind of want some shade. We'll go through here with a bit of yellow as well, because the spine would be visible. Or well, I say the layer with the spine on it would be more visible. So what I'm doing here is just kind of trying to break it up, but also trying to follow some of the lines of where the muscles would go. And I think that'll do, to be fair, because, like, again, the back is a very... I'm still not sure what I'm going to do in terms of the mesh layer that's supposed to be in some of these gaps in the clothing. So we'll have to figure that out. But again, like I said, it should be subtle. Like, you don't want it to look, you know, that already looks pretty cool. I'm kind of happy with that. Yeah, you don't want it to look regimented and you know, like you've perfectly chosen an area, because, like, you know, it's chaotic underneath your skin. Like the veins are everywhere, and it's just kind of... Oh, do you know what I've gone and done? I'm not sure how far back that goes. That's so annoying. I've painted all of that onto the blooming reds layer. There we go. Right, so I need to quickly go through and make sure that I've got everything in that I wanted to have in, because I've removed a lot of what I've done there. So let's again make sure we're on the blue layer. Smooth some of this away and just kind of come back into any areas that I think that we might have had to have undone. So definitely up around here. All right, so let's go back to the back because we're running out of time, and that camera's going to switch off in any minute. So let's make sure we're on the blue layer once more, and then we're just going to start adding it in, like in some of these creviced areas, and try and follow some of the muscle lines, like I was saying previously. Center there, because we want some depth in that back. Let's turn that top layer off. That's kind of where I was expecting. So see here, we've kind of followed some of the markings of the back and where the muscles would be under the skin. Yeah, I'm kind of happy with that. So let's see if we can get some of this in before the camera shuts off there. But I want to add some of the fat layers. So there is fat around her butt, but again, I want to make it patchy because I don't want it to overshadow the pinkness that we've got in there already. There's definitely going to be some fat around the boobs and around the thighs. So let's go ahead. Let's see if we can grab that yellow that we had before. This isn't something I'm too fussed about. As long as it's like a muddy sort of deep yellow, then it should be fine. So with us being on the yellow layer, let's name it yellow. And then let's start adding some fat on her. So starting with the boob areas, I think we can just sort of spread it around a little. See how it's breaking up the boobs and they feel a little bit more alive. Because to be honest, they are essentially pillows of fat. Not that that's a bad thing, ladies, but that's essentially what they are. So that's not bad. Again, most of this is to break up some of the layers underneath. Like, so if you look at what we've already got with the boobs, they feel a little bit more real now because they've got that sort of fatty yellow layer breaking up the red. So we'll go ahead and do the same on the legs. That camera's going to cut out any second, but I'm going to finish. So with the thighs and the legs, we definitely want some around here because there's a bone there. and we want to kind of taper it off a little and break it up. We'll do the same on this side. Now, because the skin's pulled a little tighter, this might be a little bit more visible, but we're still going to go ahead and sort of taper it off so that it doesn't just look like a solid yellow patch on her body. And then I think what we're going to do for the rest of it is kind of just, yeah, sort of add some patches to just break up the red a little. And you can already see how that's kind of makes the flesh feel a little bit more alive. It breaks up those colors, which, yeah, it's really working nicely. So again, mostly just to break up the areas so that we're not just looking at a solid pink. A solid pink butt. You don't want her to look like she's had her butt spanked. You want her to look like she's living, you know what I mean, like got actual flesh there. So again, same around the leg here, anywhere where there would be fat. Like here, I think that we could probably remove some of the yellow from there because that would be mostly muscle and it's kind of close to the skin, so we'd probably see a bit more red through that. And yeah, we're going to do the same here. Let's keep breaking it up on the inside of the thigh as well. I'm being really patchy with it because, like I said, this is mainly for breaking up the skin layer, breaking up the red layer. Okay, so let's smooth this all out, and then we might chop some of this back out to bring some of that pink back up. Okay, that camera's just cut out. But yeah, I mean, I hope you can see the sort of subtlety that I'm going for. The way that I'm breaking this yellow layer up in particular has already kind of brought the life back out of this skin. So I might chop some of this away because I want like the main area to look a bit more pink. I feel like that's not bad. Maybe we can take some out of here. Some of that yellowness out of there. But you know, like you ever see, like, you know, when a girl has a skirt on and she gets cold and she gets legs that they kind of start to look a bit like corned beef, because she's gone in the cold weather there. That's the fat layers coming closer to the surface to keep you warm, and bringing the blood vessels away from the surface to sort of like store heat in the body. So that's essentially what we're looking for here. You want it to kind of be broken up and a bit patchy in that sense. So yeah, let's just add these final few patches of yellow around the back. Again, just to break it up. And then we might chop some of it away. But you can already see, like, even just then when I did that, you can see here, around here, where there's the yellow's kind of a little bit more visible now. You know, it makes you feel, you can kind of feel that, like, there's fat and blood moving around this person, you know. So, yeah. But I don't think that's too bad. So for a basic start on the skin, that's pretty good. Maybe a bit too much yellow here, so we can chop some of that away. That feels a bit bad. Let's check the other side. Yeah, so this side's a little bit more subtle anyway. It's a little bit more hidden because she's sort of pinched up here. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. I'm pleased with how that looks so far. The post-processing's on. So yeah, that looks pretty good. So I think one thing we could do is I think we probably should turn this yellow down just a tiny bit. And probably turn the blue down. What's the blue on? Yeah, we could probably turn that down a tiny bit more. Just again to keep it a bit more subtle. Keep some of that red in there as well because, you know, anime characters, they usually have like very red buttocks and very red boobs. Or very pink boobs, let's say. But yeah, either way, I'm pretty happy with that. That's a good start. It's a good solid start. I'll cut this off for the minute. This will still be one video, but I'll cut this off for now and probably come back later or tomorrow and maybe add some more detail in the veins. And then, I don't know, I might just put that out as a quick video to show you how I do the skin. And then move on to just painting everything else. Because with everything else, it's going to be the same as what I usually do. Adding a bit of texture. Adding maybe a small dirt layer so that the clothes don't look brand new. And then maybe add some detail. I mean, I might actually, before I close this video off, I might reset the camera and everything. Because I still have to add the vein details anyway. And I might actually go over this and add like a skin texture to the skin. So if someone ever does get close enough to it, you could see that there's like actual sculpted texture in there. We'll see. For now, I'm going to say that looks pretty good. And I'm pretty happy. So let's... Yeah. All right, well, I'll be back at some point. And we'll finish this video off. So... Okay. Excuse me. Right, let's try and close up this painting video with, we'll paint in some actual veins. Might do some makeups, and I might add some texture to the skin. We'll see how we go. So let's start by grabbing the blue color that we need. So 36. There we go. So we've got the blue color that we need. Now what I want to try and do here is, let's start on the chest area because I think it'll be a little bit easier to kind of keep track of. What I'm looking to do here is, let's do it on the top layer as well, is try and just draw in some of the veins, but like keeping it sort of light. So let's add another layer. We'll bring it down underneath the top. Wait, where did it go? Oh, there we go. Yeah, I merged it like a fool. Yeah, so we want to... I'm going to leave it maxed for now because I want to kind of see... Oh, okay. That also doesn't help. We need it on the paint layer. On the paintbrush, sorry. So yeah, I kind of also want to just see how it's all going to sort of come together. And I want to be able to see it. So I think let's turn... There we go. That's a bit better. I can see now. It's a little bit on the large side. So, oh yeah, I want it to be opaque so I can see where it is, and then we can sort of play around with the... we can play around with some of the opacities and stuff like that. So I don't know how necessary this really is, but again, it kind of like, I don't know, it makes me it makes me feel like it's more finished. There would be one that was kind of, so let's get all of these painted in. There would be kind of one, I think, at least, that would, I'm getting a bit rough with it now because I'm trying to rush. There's definitely going to be one that's more visible than others, let's say. And that'll be like there's a main type of vein that's running through most of our body. So let's see what that looks like. So you can see, I think maybe, let's turn the opacity down on the skin at the top very much, a tiny bit. So I'm just trying to like pick out some places that I kind of think it might uh, be a bit more visible from. We might see some of it. So it's all kind of like going to come like work away from the sort of like nipple area and get like progressively smaller as it comes into the nipple area. I mean, um, but yeah, I think that's okay. So what I want to do is let's add just some larger veins from where I think they might go. We might see a few coming through from under here. So mostly again to break up the surface of the skin, right? And we're definitely doing some like eye trickery stuff here because this is probably most likely these aren't really in very good spaces. I don't know. Again, like I'm just using it to try and break the surface of the skin up and give you that type of illusion that you've you know, you can see the veins come sort of moving around under the skin a little bit. Well, not moving around, but you know what I mean. The veins that would exist there. So let's come back down from here. We'll add some of these veins in the side. And again, mostly to sort of break up the surface area. Do you know what I want to try as well? I want to try. Let's add some deep green veins as well. And just see what these end up looking like. Nah, I'm not sure about that. Nah, it's probably a bit much. Alright, so again, mostly this is to sort of break up the skin. Oh, wait. Now I need to get that colour back. Yeah, mostly this is to just break up the sort of skin surface area. You can zoom in a bit closer and make the lines smaller as you come away from it, which probably makes a bit more sense. But yeah, it's mostly just to break up the skin a little. We're going to play around with some of the opacities on this sort of stuff anyway. And I'm not really following any type of shape or recognizable pattern, or it's literally breaking up the skin surface. That's what all I'm doing it for. So I feel like that might do it. Let's have a little play around with some of these opacities just so that we can and probably smooth some of this out too. So I want to make sure that the yellow's nice and smooth, because I've got some choppy bits that I'm not overly pleased with. Let's check the red. Oh, okay. Oh no, oh darn it. Okay, so I've got to remember, because it's on the smooth function, I got to remember to turn that down. I just smoothed a load of detail out, and I didn't really mean to. Um, so let's go to the red layer. And we'll try and fill some of that in and smooth it away. Yeah, that already looks a little better. Yeah, it just looked very choppy. So, okay, let's start toying with some of these layers. So we can probably turn that down a tiny bit. I don't think we need the veins to be quite that visible. We could probably turn the top skin up a tiny bit and maybe turn the veins back up a tiny bit. And that doesn't look too bad. Yeah, I kind of like that. Yeah, I'm kind of pleased with that. So let's go back to the face, and we'll start adding some makeup and stuff like that to her. So just so that her eyes don't look as weird. Her eyes look kind of strange because she's got no eyeliner, and they just look a little small because of it. So I think we'll go ahead and do that. So on top of all of it, let's add another layer. We'll call this lipstick, I guess. I want to try and keep all of the makeup layers separate if I can, because like I might want to mess with the opacity on the lipstick, for example, and not on the eyeliner. So we'll keep these separate for now. Let's choose something more solid, and let's find a color that's a little bit more lip worthy. Let's try that. So I'm hoping that this goes on okay, because it's all on a it's got like a, what's it called, subsurface on it. So I'm hoping that all of it goes on okay, and it's at least somewhat visible. Wait, did I turn the... Yeah, we could probably have the lips be a little more glossy, because it'll help bring it off of the background. Let's see how they're looking. Yeah, they're quite a bit more glossy than the skin behind it, or the skin underneath it. So I'll be fine with that. So what I might do as well, again, like I said, I haven't decided if I'm 100% going to do this today. But what I might do is add some more actual skin detail into the sculpt. So we'll go back to the base layer and start sort of maybe adding some skin detail and some detailing around the lips, so that her lips feel a bit more... Oh, her lips just feel a bit more natural, if you know what I mean. But that doesn't look too bad. Let's see what it looks like with the subsurface on it again. Yeah, you can. That's not bad. I'm kind of happy with that. So I think what we'll do, we'll add another layer. And we'll call this eyeliner. And we'll go for a nice deep black, but not too shiny. So somewhere around there, maybe. And then I'm going to... Okay. So I'm going to take the head group, solo that. I want to turn off the hair. Okay. Right. Let's... Oh, I need to do eyebrows on her as well. Let's go ahead and start painting in these eyeliners. This eyeliner. Mostly this is going to help to sort of bring the eyes out, sort of blend it in a little, like, because there's, at the moment, there's a definite line, and it'd be nice to somewhat blur some of this in. So I don't think we need that. Yeah, so like mostly I'm trying to blend some of this eye. And sort of try and bring it off the background. Bring it sort of like to frame the eye in some ways, right? That looks kind of nice. So yeah, it kind of just frames the eye, brings it off the back a little, so that we don't have to look at any kind of anything that's too weird anyway around the eye here. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm kind of pleased with that. I think that looks kind of nice. Let's just get underneath this bottom eyelash, and then we'll start thinking about maybe getting some eyebrows on her. Right, let's see how all that looks. Yeah, kind of nice. Um, I think because I don't know if we'll have time to do it all before the camera cuts out, I think I'm going to save this. Um, yeah, I think we're going to save this. I'm going to imitate that before I do. Let me have a look at this. Like, so top layer, top skin, set to 81. And I want to check out the subsurface levels on it. So what we got, 0.01628. So 0.01628. Yeah, so that's way too high. 0.01628. Oh dear, it's close enough. Okay, but so what that's done has, maybe I'll turn that up a tiny bit more, because this point is it's showing a lot more of the imperfections under the skin, which I'm not a fan of. So let's turn that up just a tiny bit more, 0. Maybe 3. And let's start toying around with some of these again. So We can bring that down a little bit again. Bring the yellow, the blue's fine. Let's bring the red down a tiny bit. She was looking a little pink. Yeah. All right, so what I think we'll do, we'll pause this, we'll save it. And then we'll come back in either a bit later or... yeah, we'll either come back a bit later or tomorrow, and we'll maybe add some skin texture, finish those eyebrows, and get some lip texture on there as well. So I shall be back momentarily for you guys. It might be an hour for me in real time now, so I'll be as quick as I can. All right, won't be a minute. Right, so we're going to go ahead and add some detail to the lips. We're going to use this scratchy. I did go through this already once, but I messed up recording. So yeah, we're going to add this scratch texture. I don't know if this comes with Nomad, but we've got it anyway. So we're going to use this, and we're going to use it to add some texture to the lips. So what I've gone and done is selected the brush tool, and we've got the alpha we've added here. I've got it on surface so that if I zoom in and out, it sort of changes, or sticks to the surface. I think that's the one where it just keeps it to the size of the surface. We've changed the fall off, which I haven't done here because I had to go back. So we want it like that so that we got like a nice soft air. I don't know if we need that. We'll leave it. So we want it like, I usually have a nice soft edge around it, and this type of fall off here makes that like achievable. And then with the stroke, I've set it to lock radius, because if you lock intensity, it's one pressure all the time. And because we're using a pen, I want to be able to use the sensitivity on the pen. We're also going to make sure that we've got dynamic topology on, just in case we don't have enough polys to work on around the lips, and I just keep it on anyway because it makes my life easier. And yeah, anything that makes my life easier, I'm down for. So yeah, we're just going to start chopping in and adding some texture to the lips. I'm going to start with the larger sort of sections of it and sort of rough in some areas where I think it might look like that she'll have lip detail. Excuse me. And then we're going to go ahead and do something similar with the top. I'm not too worried about going over the edge of the lip liner or the lipstick that I've put on there, because yeah, it's we'll smooth some of this away anyway. So what I do want to do is make sure that I get all the way underneath, just so that we've got some texture there in case she looks a little bit like Thanos at the moment with the scratches on her face, but we'll fix all that. Yeah, and then I think what we'll do, we'll bring the intensity down a little tiny bit, and then we'll start cutting across it, because the lips are very they're a lot like finger sort of like the creases you see around your hand on the palm of your hand. They're very random, crisscrossing hatchy type stuff. We'll come back in and add some, any of this that we lose while we're doing this, we'll add it back in. So yeah, mostly just to break up the lips, add some decent sort of texture to them. Maybe we'll come back in and sculpt some of this in any of the areas that we like. We might sculpt up a tiny bit more. But yeah, mostly just to break it up, because like we don't want hard straight lines. They I don't know. I mean, the thing is like people say nature doesn't work in straight lines, but I'm increasingly finding that's not true. I saw a square glacier the other day, not with my own eyes, but Yeah, I was watching some YouTubes, and just randomly they were like, it was one of those if it wasn't recorded type deals. And yeah, there was a freaking square glacier. I was like, what? When did that become a thing? Let's turn the intensity down on the smooth for a little bit. We've already got our dynamic topology on, so we should be able to smooth this away nice and easily. I'm going to gently go over the lips as well. Oh, I've lost my smooth edge on the brush, on my pen, sorry. So she's looking a little bit uniformed at the moment. So let's go in and sculpt a little bit more detail up. So I think that we would probably have like a nice little bubble type section here going on the lip. And I want to like bring some of this front lip forward a little bit. So mostly what I'm trying to do is break up the texture on the lips a little. Let's work on the bottom a little bit. Yeah, I'm just trying to break it up a little and sort of not have it be so uniformed as it is at the moment. Still looking a bit I think it might be the edges. I think we need to bring it slightly more away from the edges. Yeah, I think maybe she's looking a little old with so many creases. So let's smooth some of them away. Try and get back those sort of nice soft edges that we had. I don't think that looks too bad. And we're going to add some texture to the skin in a little bit as well. I'll have to let's go back to what we were looking at. See, that looks a lot better now. I'm glad I went a little bit further than I needed to, because we've got the skin, what's it called on here? The subsurface scattering going on, so we're losing a little bit of that detail underneath. So I'm glad I pushed some of that in and kept it. But yeah, now that it's Yeah, that looks really good. I'm pleased with that. So I think we'll... Yeah, I'm quite pleased with that. That's good. So yeah, the next thing what I want to do is add some actual skin texture to this. Seeing as we've got we've done a pretty good job on the painting with the purples and stuff like that, and sort of like broke up the skin surface a little. So I'm still quite happy with that. But I do want to add a little bit of texture to this, especially around on the skin area. The cotton areas like this, I'm not too worried about. I might do some texture work like we're doing with the skin on the leather, but the cotton I'm not too fussed about. We've got some leather boots here, so we might do it on that too. Yeah, so let's stop this video. This part of it will be a short thing. I don't think you'll even notice on there because I'll edit it, but I need to stop this and actually put the textures in onto this computer that I've got for the skin. So I shall be back. Let's save this first. Save. And I'll be right back. Okay, so we should have the textures on there now. So let's see what we can do about adding a bit of texture to this skin. So we'll go ahead and turn all of this off again because we don't need that. We just want to be able to see what's going on with the model. We'll sort these eyebrows out as well in a little bit. Yeah, she looks weird with no eyebrows. Right, so we've got this brush already set up because we've been using it. So yeah, log radius, the alpha is on that. So let's bring in one of our alphas. So I'm looking for the skin alpha. Where's the one I was using? I think maybe this one. We'll try this one first. Let's check that we're on the correct layer still. I mean, it's a little much. Let's try a different one. So we just brought that one in. Was it that one? Yeah. Let's try this one. Let's try reducing the topology a tiny bit and see if we can sort of cheat it a little. Yeah, that feels a little better. So what I did there, there's some really fine detail in that alpha. So what I did there to try and cheat it and not have it look so so harsh on the skin was yeah, essentially like removing some of the detail out of it before I actually even add it to the model, right? So it's sort of like softened it up a little bit. I think what we can do, yeah, we can sort of see where we've been if we check it every now and then with the mesh visible. So I mean that looks kind of okay. We're not really changing the number of sort of faces on it, vertex that's on there. Can't really go too big with it because it makes it look old. But it's, yeah, it's just to, I mean, I might even come back over this in a little bit and sort of decimate it a tiny bit, you know, just to soften her skin up a little because it's a bit harsh here. So we might come back into this in a little bit. Some areas are a bit tricky to get into. I think it's because of the brush settings. But if we keep moving around it, we will get some texture on there, and that's kind of what I need. So yeah, I'm just trying to, let's see if we've covered everywhere. I'm just trying to make sure that we've covered everywhere with the texture, you know. I'm going to pull out some larger areas, but I will smooth this away once we actually get the face covered. So yeah, this is just to kind of bring some life to the surface of the skin. What I might even do, because this is going to be a lot of the same sort of process for the majority of this now. Am I on the right layer? Yes. It's going to be a similar sort of process for the rest of this now, for the skin anyway. Just making sure that I've got everywhere covered. So what I might do is, once we've done this face, I might do the eyebrows. And yeah, do a time lapse for the rest of the body, because it's going to be the same thing essentially. So let's check where we've been. Yeah, let's have some here. Oh, that's a little bit much. We're not going to add any like wrinkles or anything like that. She's, I think Tubi's quite a young character. I think I said that early in the series, so we won't be adding any like wrinkles or anything like that. Like, this is literally just we're faking pores basically. Like, because I don't want to. We could probably do a better job of this with ZBrush, but this is more than good enough. And plus, I don't want to. We're already at 7 million, so I'm probably going to try and do some type of a decimation on this, or I might smooth it over with a very low intensity and reduce the dynamic topology. So we're, like I said, we're essentially be faking the pores. So let's check if we've got coverage of the whole face. We've missed a bit up here, look. Let's actually make sure that we've not added too much to that. That might... we'll decimate it. That must probably going to be okay. We'll duplicate that on this side as well. So, I mean, I don't know if you'll even be able to tell once we actually get, you know, the skin subsurface going on the skin. But if it's ever printed, which is something I want to do, then that will be there. You know, we'll hopefully see that detail on it. Hopefully, I mean, I don't know for 100%. But that's not bad. So let's try and reduce this a tiny bit. So let's bring this intensity almost down to nothing. We'll reduce this a little tiny bit. And then we'll see what that goes like. Still removing a bit too much. Okay, so what's happening here is I've reduced the let's do this side. Oh, I forgot I've got it on a blooming thingy. I mean, either way, it's done the same thing. So yeah, I'm essentially smoothing some of the detail away and bringing the mesh back down a tiny bit. You see it coming down a tiny bit there. And yeah, just trying to sort of smooth away very, 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 very faintly, smoothing away the some of the detail, but just a tiny bit. And you can see that it's we're nearly back down to 7 million. Let's check we haven't lost too much detail off the lips. And yeah, we've still got some texture on there from the for the skin. I'm not even sure you're going to be able to see much of this. I mean, you can a little in the light. Yeah, you can a little. Again, I think that's worth it just for when eventually these things, you know, do get printed. It will just be worth it for that. I might try and reduce some of the I might try and reduce some of this on the back of the head because we're never going to see it anyway. And that'll bring the head back down nice and quickly as well. And again, just mostly to try and keep the scene clean. This will help. go down a tiny bit more to try and get rid of some of this, because there's a lot there that didn't move. So that'll help a lot as well. And again, I don't care about this stuff on the back of the head. We're never going to see it. So that's brought us back down to by a few 100,000, which I'm kind of happy with. Let's turn that off. Let's get our mat cap going again. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. So let's get these eyebrows going, and then I'll go to a time lapse to do the rest of it. Yeah, I'm really pleased with that so far. It's actually come out all right. I don't know why I always sound surprised. But yeah, whatever. Let's get some eyebrows on her. Did I have any eyebrows that I literally just cut out? I did at some point. Yeah, I literally cut out some eyebrows that I liked, and I was like, yep, they're my eyebrows. Okay. Let's try and get some eyebrows on. Oh wait, I'm still on the brush. We want to change this up, so we want to put that back to dot. We want to change this alpha. Oh, we want to change this alpha back to the scratchy one that we had. The fall off should be okay. Let's put some more detail on that because we're not getting any detail. Yeah, there we go. So what I'm going to do here is just sort of rough in at a relatively low sort of poly count. I'm just going to start adding a bit of detail. We might need a bit more than that. Let's turn off the stuff that we don't need. And let's paint in some of this. All right, let's go ahead and do the same on the other side. So let's see how they look with the post-processing on. Yeah, they look pretty good. So we'll add a layer now, and we will, let's add a layer, we'll call it browse. Oh. Now we'll call it browse. Hopefully I didn't just press a bunch of random shortcuts and delete a bunch of stuff. No, we're good. So I want to, she's going to have like white hair. I'm pretty sure she's got white hair, but I want to do her eyebrows a little darker because I find that if you have white eyebrows and a white beard, it makes you look old. And that's not what we want from 2B. We want 2B to look youthful and pretty. So let's add a very dark brown. We want a medium sort of roughness because we do want a little bit of shine on the eyebrows, just not very much. Let's solo this again and we'll start scratching on some of this paint. Let's use this again. Let's actually turn it back to matte cap so we can see where we're painting. And then let's just sort of add a bit of colour to it. And again, I don't think it has to be like an incredibly thick sort of colour, you know, like as long as you've got, I think you would be able to see some of the skin through the eyebrows. I don't think like eyebrows are something that's a very dense hair. But we kind of do want to make sure we get like a nice defined shape at least. And nothing that looks too messy. And that doesn't look too bad. It's a bit... Just making sure. I thought for a second I was like, am I actually digging into this mesh? Let's smooth a little bit that way. It looks a bit rough around that edge. And yeah, we'll go ahead and do the same for the other side. And then I think we'll move to a time lapse because, yeah, I mean, I don't know. How many videos have I got up there? 4. So, I don't know. We might do some of it. We'll see. See, we need to thicken this side up a little bit. That's not bad. I might duplicate the layer. Let's see how it looks. I mean, I might. Let me see. Yeah, that's better. kind of see some of the more jittery edges here now. Okay, she's looking kind of good. All right, I'm gonna save this, and we'll go ahead and start adding some of that skin texture to the rest of the body. That shouldn't take too long. I might just do it in one more video because we're just going to do the whole, we're going to blitz it like we did the face and then reduce the mesh a little tiny bit. But that is pretty good. Okay, I shall be, let me reset the video and we'll carry on. Okay, let's blitz through the parts of the body we can see and add some texture to the skin like we did with the face up here. So let's start with this area because it's a reasonable sort of contained area. I don't know why I did that. It's a reasonably contained area that we can sort of work within. And we're not going to do anywhere that's covered up. So we'll start with that. So let's get our brush again. Hopefully this is still set up a bit from the last one. Yes, we just need to put the right alpha on here. I think it was that one. Was it that one? We'll find out. Let's set this back to matte cap and turn this off so we can see what we're doing. And we're going to leave the jumper on so that we can easily see where we've been and where we don't need to go. Sorry. Okay. Let's test this out. Oh yeah, we changed the brush stroke. Stroke radius. Let's bring that down to a reasonable amount. We've also changed that, haven't we? That might still be a little harsh. And again, not forgetting we're going to smooth some of this away in a little bit as well. So although it looks a bit harsh at the moment and a bit like an orange peel maybe, we are going to smooth some of that away. This is just to add some, like I said it a minute ago as well, it's just to add some texture to the surface of the skin. Let's see what we're looking like here. Let's see what happens if we smooth some of this out and then go ahead and do the brush. Let's see how that looks in there because it's looking a bit. Okay, I don't think that's a problem. That's a little better. I mean, so we are going to essentially, like I said, we're going to come and smooth this out anyway a little. So I'm not worried too much if it looks a little like orange peel at the moment. We can come back over this and put some dents in it as well. Okay, let's finish this other side. And then we can smooth some of this away and try and make this look a little bit more believable. And like I said, less like a the surface of an orange. So I'm hoping to be able to get all of this done in 20 sort of 5-ish minutes so that I don't have to go ahead and edit a time lapse up as well. So let's put our foot down a little on this. See, I'm just trying to... We have kind of covered everywhere, but some areas look a little smooth compared to others. Yeah, that's a bit much. I don't want them to. I don't want them to look like basketballs either. You know. All right, so let's reduce the topology ever so slightly. I'll switch this to smooth and really turn that down to like barely anything. And then I think we'll come back in and we'll go over this. And we'll just make sure, we'll do one side. And then we'll try and make sure that it looks okay. Yeah, there's still some texture there. I may have taken a bit too much off. So let's go back to the Dyna topology. We'll just turn that up a little more and we'll see what we end up with. See, that's barely taking anything off now, and I kind of do want to remove a little. So let's go somewhere in the middle. Let's go like 170-ish. And that's enough to change it and reduce it, but not completely wipe it away. Look, okay. Actually, let's remove the pressure altogether. So all we're really doing now is changing the topology. So we're now not like I've completely removed the pressure for this. So this shouldn't actually be smoothing anything. It's just reducing the topology a little bit now, which is kind of good. I want to keep it as low as possible. And at least this way we can still get away with sort of tricking the light. Let's turn it up just a tiny bit for this. So I do want to smooth some of that away. Because they're just looking a little bit basketball-y, you know. So let's just reduce that a tiny bit. Yeah, it's kind of good. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So we got about 15 minutes to do the thighs and everything. Do you know what? Like, honestly, I don't think that we're not going to be doing anything differently. So what I'll probably do is cut the video off, and we'll just go straight to the sort of turnarounds and any shots I want to show of the skin. So maybe a couple of images of the face, or maybe a turnaround of the face, and a sort of turnaround of this area and this area, and then because I've got to do the whole back as well. So, and at this point, we're not doing anything that you haven't already seen. So yeah, I think, cut the video off, finish the thighs and the back, and then we'll have this video out for you. All right. Oh yeah. Okay. Okay. So there we have it. I'll probably put some still images up. I'll do some proper turnarounds of it. Try and get some good some good lighting, so that we can actually see. Like for example, here, if we get the lighting right, we'll be able to see some of the detail. You can see it appearing around here. Let's quickly, just so that we can do it for the video, let's turn off the painting and go to matte cap. And then you can see the detail a bit clearer. I might reduce the subsurface on it a little bit, so that we can see some of this detail a little clearer. But it's there, and it will be a lot more visible if these ever get to a point where they're 3D printed. So this is the sort of thing that's more for just me, I guess. I'm not really sure how much of it you'll see. But I mean, I'm happy with it. I'm pleased I went in and did the extra bits, so we can see some subtle sort of skin textures on the face and around the boobs. Around the back here, you can see a bit as well. So it's just to create some surface texture, right? Because we don't want it to look smooth. And this is, like I said, this is going to be way more helpful for when this is 3D printed. It'll look a lot nicer. Hopefully. I mean, I don't have any frame of reference really to go on from that. But yeah, hopefully it looks a bit nicer. Let's actually quickly try and just reduce that a tiny bit so that we can see. I mean, you can see it. So you can see it around here. You can kind of see it around here. I think a lot of this is going to depend on how it's lit. So you can see there's detail on it. But I also don't have oh no, we do. Have I got it? Yeah, we do. So I'm pretty happy with it. So we'll see how it goes. I think a lot of it, like I said, is going to depend on how it's lit. But there is detail there, and you know, it'll give you an idea of what you're able to achieve, I guess, with something like Nomad Sculpt. let's quickly rearrange that. So yeah, you can see her face has got some nice detail on it. We've added the detail to the lips and stuff. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. So I guess that's it from me for this one. We'll be back, and we'll probably start painting up some of the clothes on the next one. Something I've got to try and remember to do is to add the bandage around her eye. But we'll probably start trying to add some of the detail to the clothing and stuff like that for the next one. But yeah, thanks for joining me. I hope you found it useful. I hope it was helpful to somebody. And yeah, like and subscribe. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Happy sculpting, everybody.